Hi, welcome to Shop Talk Live, episode 350. This one's a special one. I just got back from Austin, Texas, where I visited some friends at the Texas Woodworking Festival. This is a special festival to me. I got to help organize and go to this festival several years in a row, and to see it grow into what it is really exciting. I love revisiting the old Texas woodworking community, and that's exactly what this episode is about. We have Frank Strazza and Eric Yocom joining us. Frank's lived in Texas forever, and Eric was inspired by the community so much in Texas that he decided to move here. I really hope you enjoyed this episode. It was a special one. I never get to do these in person. Let's just dive right in. Just to fill you all in, Ben and I were talking last week. We were like, we need a podcast. What do we do? Amanda's going to Texas, her hometown. Let's make this a Texas episode of Shop Talk Live. And I can't think of two better people. I saw Eric yesterday, and so we had a different guest, but they weren't able to come. And then I was at Austin School of Furniture's open house last night, and looked at Eric, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, this is the third person that we need for this podcast." So I'm glad you both could come, and we can do this, and talk a little bit about the Texas community. I don't get to talk enough, or I do talk a lot about the Texas community because it was like my foundation for woodworking. But I think you two represent a very warm and welcoming element of the woodworking community in this part of the country, which we don't cover often. So neither of you have been on the podcast. So I think it'd be awesome if you could introduce yourselves and talk a little about your background, history, and what you're working on right now. Frank, would you like to start off?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, it's an honor to be on the podcast.
It's about time.
No, it's great. I appreciate the invite. And so my name is Frank Strazza, and I guess I've been furniture making now for 35 years or something full time. That's I started as an apprentice, so I build furniture. But I also, a while back when I first started So when I started my apprenticeship, I did my apprenticeship, and then I did kind of a journeymanship, and I started working with Paul Sellers. So right out of high school, I started the apprenticeship when I was 17. Of course, I was really into the craft before then. Like when I was 11 and 12, I started cutting dovetails and building stuff. And then I remember reading Roy Underhill, and I was trying to decide if I knew I definitely wasn't going to have electricity in my shop, but I was trying to decide if I was going to have a phone in my shop.
Wait. So, you didn't want electricity?
Oh, definitely. No, definitely knew I was not going to have electricity in my shop. But the real crux was whether I was going to have a telephone, a landline phone in my shop. So, of course, now, we have high-speed internet and everything else, and of course, electricity. But no, so I had the wonderful opportunity to apprentice when I was 17, then did that for about here in Austin, actually, right? And under a man by the name of Mark Swenison. It's a wonderful opportunity. He was like a second father to me, just an amazing. Tragically, he passed away actually during my right towards the end of my apprenticeship with him. But and interestingly enough, I was able to actually apprentice his son. So that was
really?
Yeah.
Okay, so full circle.
That was pretty cool. So, and it was really interesting because his son was pretty young when he passed away, but then I apprenticed him later on, and to see some of the similarities, it was like, wow. But anyway, moving ahead, I had the wonderful opportunity to do a journeymanship with Paul Sellers, and at that time, Paul was starting a school, and so I was able to help him with that and learn about teaching, but also learn the craft of hand tool woodworking. So that's basically what I do now is both build furniture. I do have electricity, as I mentioned, and so I use power tools, but also I also teach a lot too, around the country and stuff. So yeah.
Perfect. Yeah. Eric.
Well, my name's Eric Yocom. I am originally from Missouri. I grew up there and joined the Marine Corps when I was out of high school as a musician. So I got to play the drums for the Marine Corps, and I retired in 2014 as a drum major and a staff sergeant, and wouldn't trade those years for anything. So I kind of consider myself like being in the arts my entire life.
Okay.
So transitioning to woodworking and just the creative aspect of it just really kind of it keeps within, I would say, the only thing that I know in my life is just being creative. And that's kind of where I am in my happy place.
What stuck out to you in woodworking? Or like what made you decide woodworking?
So in 2013, I had a townhouse in Virginia, and the deck that we had out back it was dilapidated. It was literally almost falling apart. So I wanted to build a new one. And so we built a humongous deck, and it was like almost an entire like living space out there. It was great. Um, but as far as like materials estimation, we completely overestimated. So I had all this lumber in the back, like decking stuff in the backyard. And I'm like, well, I need like a couch. I'd like to put a bench over here. And so I kind of looked up some plans. And as I started making stuff, I'm like, this is cool. And then for this bench, I'm like, I want to have storage in it. And so I kind of had a visual in my mind and was able to kind of make out the frame and then piece things together. And I'm like, okay, like, I think I'm kind of decent at this. So then I started, as a hobbyist and, getting stuff off the rack at Home Depot, and then eventually, starting to build out a shop, get some tools, and I would make a piece of furniture. And at the time, I think it was Pinterest. I would go on and, I'd search for something and I'd be like, oh, that's better than what I just made. I want to make this one. And then it just kept on snowballing and snowballing until, well, here we are talking on the Fine Woodworking podcast.
That's wonderful.
No, I love that so much that you're here. You weren't from Texas, but you've moved to Texas. It wasn't this year, but
it was 2 years ago.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Gosh, time.
Yes, time has flown.
But one of the reasons I was excited to have you on is like talking about, you really dove into woodworking and like changed your life because of it.
Yeah. And because I did go to school for a little bit, and school it's not for me. Like going to college and sitting in class. No, I that's not my happy place. We moved to Phoenix in 2016, and I got an office job in the quote unquote corporate America, and just the lack of creativity. It was draining on me. It was draining on my mental health. It was draining on, my physical fitness and everything. And I just had to get back into just being creative. So I found myself, like I kind of said earlier, building out a shop and, making things. And I would spend pretty much all of my off time in there. So I wasn't spending time with my family. And so when the opportunity came to actually work for a furniture maker, I jumped at it, and I haven't looked back since.
So kind of the connection with you two is Austin School of Furniture, obviously. And Frank, you've taught there for how many years now?
Time does tend to fly, so it's hard to think back, but I'd say a few years. Yeah, I'd say at least a few years.
I mean, you were involved back in, was it 2019 or 2018?
Yeah, it was. Time does fly.
Yeah, because
that was like 6-7 years ago. Okay,
right.
Yeah. So
because I remember meeting you. I think it was at a Lee Nielsen event for the first time, and then you were. I think you had just started teaching, and it was like the first, at least 2 years of the school. So it had to be 2019, but. So you've been involved with Austin School of Furniture, and we're here for, in case I didn't mention, we're here with all together because of Texas Woodworking Festival, which is just a great way to bring the community get together. Yeah, but so you started teaching. I can't remember what the first class you was. Is it a marquetry class you taught, or
no? I think we did just a joinery class. It was probably either a 1 or 2 day, just hand tool joinery.
Yeah.
So, and I'm not sure if Eric, if you assisted me in that first class or not, but I know it was in subsequent. Yeah, because if you just came here 2 years ago, then yeah, so it was in subsequent classes.
It all kind of blends together.
It totally does. Yeah.
But So Eric, what year was the intensive? So I'm trying to.
That was summer of 2022.
Okay.
And I'll never forget it because it was like the first day. It was, kind of welcoming shop tour. This is the way we do things. This is kind of what we have. Day 2, Frank Strazza comes in, and it's all hand tools,
That's
and
right.
it's drinking from the fire hose.
Yeah.
And I got such a huge rush because it was like something. Hand tools at that point were something that I kind of knew a little bit about, but I mean, learning from Frank
it's a dream, right?
Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. Like
Yes.
it was just an amazing experience, and really, at least for me, like really kickstarted the intensive, like, all right, this is what we're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was not your first introduction to Texas, because you had gone to we were talking about this earlier. You'd gone to a festival before that.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's how, the connection is how we met. And then was that kind of what inspired you to do the intensive, or what stood out to you with the intensive?
So Phil, I had talked on Instagram with Phil for years, and I really like the way that he's not able to do it very much anymore, but he taught a lot through his stories.
Right.
Like his projects, he would go through what he's thinking and everything. And I'm like, wow. And I told myself, I'm like, there's an opportunity to learn from him for an extended period of time. I'm not going to pass it up.
Yeah.
And, stars aligned. I was able to work it out. And yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I love that about woodworking is like it's for me, I always look coming back here because this is like my foundation of woodworking. I moved to Austin for the same reason, Austin Community College, and met Phil, and it started my journey in woodworking. But the community here is so special to me because I find that even within the whole woodworking community, that people are so passionate about that they'll like put everything aside to just dive into this, right? And Frank, you've dedicated your life to this, which is like a really incredible, and you see that, like when you're in the intensive, I was like, we put that intensive course, I was like envious. I was like, I wish I could have been in that too, because it was just every good teacher in this area you can think of. Like, how do you talk all stars of woodworking?
Yes.
Yeah. And it's just incredible and it's not an easy thing to go like, I'm going to put 3 months of my life aside for this and dedicate everything to it. And I just find that such a common theme in what we do, and it makes for really special people. Like when we gather together at events like this and get the chance to hang out with each other, we're like all have kind of that same heart for things, and it's evident. It's like we become friends, and we're like invested in each other's lives, or like keep up with each other at the very least, and in this way that's really special and unique. But I feel like Texas will always be that for me. It's just this like where I got started, foundation, and like I always love coming back here. So Frank, you talked a bit about I didn't realize you had an apprentice.
Over the years, I've had different apprentices.
Okay,
yeah.
I didn't realize
this was years ago, but I had an apprentice for a short time, and then he went on, and he was great. It was just really, it was an honor to get to teach Jonathan, and then had other apprentices, and then some interns, and just different opportunities over the years.
Yeah, and you're teaching now. I just found out right now before we got started that I didn't realize you were teaching the courses.
Yes.
Maybe I saw that and I forgot, but yeah.
Yeah, like very fortunate situation. There was a glitch in the system at the school, and there were 2 fundamentals classes that were booked for one class. So there were 14 students who showed up to one class, and then all of a sudden we needed another instructor. And by that time, I had assisted, I want to say 5 or 6 of the fundamentals classes. So I knew the curriculum. I think it's like a trait within all of us. Like, I'm not there yet. I don't think that I'm ready to take the helm until there was that need. And, Austin and I were talking, and I was like, you know what, let me do this. Let me take the class on. And so, Austin, he was teaching on Wednesday nights, but then he assisted me on Thursday nights.
Awesome.
And it was an amazing experience. The students my gosh, like I still, one of them was volunteering at the festival today.
Okay.
And it's so great to see, when I see them, they'll show me pictures of stuff that they've made and they're like, it's really cool. And it's
Yeah.
just, I'm very honored to be able to contribute in that way.
Yeah. And I find, again, that's a part of the community too, is like giving back, is giving.
Mhm.
Like when I think about you're doing demos at this festival, and I just like, I've seen you do demos and I'm like, how is this free? Like, how is this just like right in front of these lads? And you're giving full like demos at these events of just stuff you like pay class money for, which I think is just amazing to be so willing to give of that. And yeah, it's just amazing. It's an amazing experience every time. We're only on day one, but I'm already like, I get so charged up by these and tired at the same time, but mostly just inspired by the time you leave these things. Let's talk about like what you guys are currently working on. Like, do you have a project going on or a class you're prepping for, Frank? Or
Yeah,
I'm sure you have multiple things going on.
I can't keep track of it all.
Yeah.
So my teaching schedule has just been kind of overrunning my life, if you will, and so I started the year out with actually taking some classes. So I was actually in Italy, and I took some classes on marquetry there, and trying to study the Renaissance inlay in Italy, and then got back from that and just jumped on, started hitting the road, just teaching classes. But then I'd come back for like, a week or two, but that's just not enough time to really like get to dive back into building. So I have an opportunity now where just like a month or so that I'm trying to catch up on some stuff
Sure.
and finish actually a couple workbenches that the client's been waiting for way too long for. So
We all know that
oh my
feeling.
goodness.
Yeah.
So hopefully I'll get that completed and delivered, and then I have to go. Actually headed out to Makers Camp in New York.
Yeah. And Catskills,
And
right?
yeah, in the Catskills, and then I'm actually headed over to London to teach. It's part of the London International Woodworking Festival, and I'm going to teach a 3-day or 4-day marquetry class there before the festival. It's part of Derek's school, classic hand. I don't remember the name of Derek's school per se, but it's in conjunction with the London International Woodworking Festival.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, so that then I'll be demonstrating at that show, and then I'm thinking about possibly just jumping over to Italy again really fast.
I was gonna
'cause
say,
I gotta get some more.
I was living vicariously through you during this Italy trip.
Oh yeah, it's
You want to
phenomenal.
talk a little bit about that?
Oh sure,
'Cause
yeah. I
you did
mean,
a great
You
presentation.
may have to stop me though,
Okay.
because I may go on and on.
It's okay.
Give
That's what
Eric
we're
some
here for. You
time.
got a platform for this.
No, just being able to just be in the midst of like, and really what sent me over there was my studying with Silas Kopf, and Silas is
Just-
amazing artist. And so I was at his shops doing some, I was just with him there, and he was showing me some books of some amazing intarsia, they call it in Italy, and these choir stalls that are just all inlaid panels, like 40 of these panels, and they're all just, each individual one is entirely different. And we're talking, like, the first thing that really impressed me about these is the size of these things. Like they're, we're talking about, I don't know, I should know the measurements offhand, but 15 inches by maybe 30 inches, in height, all inlaid, covered, and these were done in the 1500s,
Right.
and every one is different. That's the thing, is nothing is like mass produced. It's all done. Every one is different, and it's like a painted panel, but all with wood inlay.
Right.
So I got to go over, and I went to Siena, and they have this amazing choir with all these panels, probably about 40 panels. And the public can only get maybe 100 feet from these panels. So I just frantically was like trying to reach out. I went to mass so I could sit up front, and I ended up sitting next to like the priest or something. And I didn't know, I don't go to, so I don't really know I don't know the thing with like, the protocols, if you will.
Sure.
So I realized that I was probably sitting in the wrong place, but I did get to go up and look, but then they shooed me off. They were like, okay, enough. You can't look anymore. So then I was like, I got to get closer. So I reached out to the cathedral, to the people there that work there. And they were like, you have to email plenty in advance and we'll set up. So anyway, set up time, went back to Italy, set up the time, and got to actually go right up.
You were, yeah, I saw
Like
photos of you
literally.
just right
And
there.
my chaperone for that time was the person that actually works on the stone, like keeping the stone upkeep. So she actually
Wow.
just went up and touched the stuff. So I was like, oh, I guess it's okay to touch this, stuff that was made in the 1500s.
Amazing.
And so I got to measure it and like see the thickness of the veneer.
Mhm.
And there was so much of it that the public can't see on these, like where the choir would be sitting, and then they'd get up and like put their hands, resting their hands, and there's all this like parquetry, we call it, geometric shapes. So
Right.
marquetry is like pictorial images, parquetry with the P is like all geometric shapes. And that was all like all on these handrails. And a lot of it was missing because over the years they just
People have
popped
touched it.
off
Yeah.
and touched it.
Yeah.
And and nobody gets to see that. So I got to like take pictures of the remaining parts. So unfortunately, I haven't been able, because I want to reproduce some of this stuff and
Right.
like figure out how it was done. So unfortunately, I've just been so busy that I haven't been able to like do that. But I'm hoping that I'll get to go back. I mean, learning. We were talking about this a little bit before
I was
the
about to say.
before the podcast.
I was
here
like,
is
hold up,
just-
this needs to be on the podcast, right?
Yeah, exactly. So, but learning like this, I just have this desire to just like learn more. And I actually had a wonderful opportunity to study with a wood carver. So kind of in between my teaching
Mhm.
schedule. He's up actually in Hamden, Massachusetts, Demetrius Klitsauce. And I studied with him last year, but then I just like, I have to go back and study with this guy because it's just, he's been carving for over 60 years. He's from Greece and he's amazing. And so I just like carved out, pardon the pun, carved out some time to actually go and spend some time with Demetrius and, just to learn. It's just so
Right.
great,
So I think that counts as what you're working on is yourself. Like you're working on your craft, even if you're not producing
Absolutely.
something. I mean,
Yeah.
you still are, but like just learning and investing in yourself, it counts as work. It
Yeah.
counts as what we do, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. And
Yeah.
you've been, are you taking any class or have you taken any classes recently?
Recently, so right now, currently, I'm actually taking a break from teaching at the school.
Okay.
And I'm taking a sketch class at I live
I'm
down
jealous.
in Buda. Live down in Buda, and there's a community center there, Inspired Minds, and they have a sketch class, and it's every Thursday night.
Mhm.
And like I'm not really into design at this point because I'm still working on basically like the construction aspect, like
Right.
the true woodworking stuff. But I do have, designs that pop up in my head from time to time and be able to get them out of my head onto paper in something that I can actually represents what's in my head.
Right.
Like I have zero ability to do that right now. And that's just something like even when I'm at work and I'm talking with the guy that I work for, and we're talking about joinery and like how all this stuff is going to go together. He's a very good artist, and
Mhm.
so he's able to just kind of draw things out and make sense. And then I try to draw what's in my head, and it looks like I'm drawing as a 3-year-old with my right hand. And it's just so that's something that I know that I've needed to work on for
Mhm.
quite a while. So I'm now taking the time to do that.
It's amazing.
And and like investing in yourself, like there's it's very what's the word, it's really inspiring
Yeah.
just to see like Frank, you've been making furniture for like more than half your life, and you are considered a very like master craftsman in today. And to hear you get excited about education, the one thing I'll never forget, and this is kind of like what really changed, because I looked it was during the intensive during that first week, like I was talking about. you and Phil were talking, and I can't remember who it was, but you were like, I'd like to take a class with that guy. And I'm like, Frank, like, you want to take a class? And now that I see that, like, now that I've been, I would say in the community a lot more, like, that's something that I see a lot is like makers saying, yeah, I want to go take a class. I want to do study with this person, study with that person.
Yeah.
And like, that gets me on fire.
Yeah.
Like, I want to improve myself. I want to learn from other people. And then I want to give back as well. And so having that opportunity, I feel very, very fortunate. I would say not with a small amount of experience that I have, because I think I do have some, a good amount of experience, but to be able to give back like that, like even at any level, it's, I'm honored. I'm honored to be able to do something like that.
Yeah, that's wonderful that you're doing that sketch class. Because So what have you found that doing that is like hard, like something that's totally out of your comfort zone? Like how does it feel? Because
it makes me feel really inferior. Like, it's one of those things, like, the more that you learn, the more you realize you don't know.
Totally.
Like, and the more that you try something, you're like, I am really bad at this. And so, it's just the repetition. And for me, it's like motivating to keep working at it so that I can get better.
Yeah. Because I remember I took an atelier kind of drawing class, because that's one thing that I feel like that I wish I could like dedicate like 2 years of my life to just learning drawing, because that's like, I feel like that any of the really good, whether it be in the Renaissance when they were doing this, they all knew how to draw, like they were good artists, and that translates to your work. So I took a semester of an atelier class, which is a like high-end classical style art form, and it was hard.
Yeah.
Like it was really like emotions were coming up. Like I was like, wait, what is this? Like, this is really difficult. Just like more like mentally just trying to like process like, wow, this is like something that's challenging, but it's really good for you. Like, so.
It is.
Yeah.
Like I remember starting before I even got into woodworking, I was watching the Maloof documentary, and like knowing he worked his entire life, like up until he died, he was making things. And I was like, oh, so I'm going to be challenged for the rest of my life to get good at this. I'm in. Like, like I'm like, is there something wrong with me, or apparently not? There's plenty of us that like care to be challenged, and like I think that speaks a lot to people in general. But it is a different way of thinking. But I'm grateful for it, and grateful for the community and people it's brought me around. But yeah, I love the idea of, I wish I had 2 years to dedicate to just learning this.
Well, another thing that has helped me is like learning something like that has actually helped me, I feel like, have more empathy or understanding for my students. Because like you could just imagine like somebody coming in that's not familiar with the craft or learning how to use a tool, and they're just struggling with it or whatever. And it's like, okay, I understand what you're going through here. Let me help you through this. It's going to be okay.
Yeah.
So,
because after you've been in woodworking a long time, like I'll talk to people about it that are just getting started, and I see the like fog. Like they're like, I have no idea what you're talking about. Oh yeah, I have to like reel this back a little bit and think in the mindset of a student. So that is like a really good point, right?
Yeah. So there's two people in the class that I'm taking that, they came in, they're like, I just want to do something creative. I really don't have any experience in this. And the first day we were working on gradients and using different pencils and
first
stuff.
day. Wow.
Yeah, first day. Like, and it's like, all right, let's go. And like, I'm sitting there working on mine and like using all the little tools and everything. And I look across and the lady's just like, I just want to do something creative. I'm like, you could frame that thing, And so like, it's, comparing yourself to others is like, it's kind of a detriment in some ways. But I think like, as a teacher or like, as students, we've been in those classes where you look at somebody and it's like, they have that natural gift. There's some people who can grab a hand plane the first time and they're like, they get it. And, having that, I try not to get down on myself. I kind of more just laugh it off now. But, there is the intimidation factor of, well, that person's new and, they seem 10 years ahead. And
I totally know the feeling.
yeah.
I don't know. I feel like Frank, I always say this about you, Frank. I always feel like you just pick something up and you just know how to do it.
No,
you're one of
this
those
is not true. This is not true.
You picked up swing dancing just a few years ago, right?
Oh,
and you've gotten
But no, you should have seen when I first started. Oh my goodness. My teachers were like, have you considered taking private classes? Because, I'd go to group classes. And then apparently another teacher told me later on, she was like, I talked to another teacher and said, because she was like, you're getting really better at this. Because when you first started, I was like, I don't know about this guy.
Oh, no.
Yeah, it was really bad.
I wouldn't know. I'd have no clue.
But I literally went to lessons every single week. And now it's wonderful.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I love that. That like being able to just dive in something. So we're going to take a little break.
Today's show is sponsored by Shaper Tools, maker of the handheld CNC router Shaper Origin. Origin is used by fine furniture makers, cabinet makers, and woodworking professionals around the world to achieve tight-fitting joinery, custom templates, or flawlessly install hardware like concealed hinges, all thanks to its built-in autocorrective mechanism. Best of all, Origin requires zero computer programming. It's easy to learn, and at the end of the day, packs up into a sustainer that you can store under your bench, making it friendly for small shops. Learn about Origin by visiting shapertools.com/origin.
Let's jump into, we have a couple segments here on the podcast, and one of them is Smooth Moves. And it's one of those moments where you're like, oh my God, what was I thinking? Which we all have. And I think it's a really great way to just, since we're talking about being human, let's jump into that. Eric, do you have anything recent you can think of?
Yeah. And I'll say that I'm going to credit this to Shota, who I work for currently. So I just finished a dining table commission, and the place that we work at, Splinter Group, it's like a 25,000 square foot warehouse. There's no AC. There's doors that are open and some breeze gets through.
Yes,
and we're talking like middle of August,
right?
Time frame on this.
I do not miss that place for that reason.
No, so I mean, if you don't know, it's probably 100 plus degrees in there. And this is at like 3:00 in the afternoon. And so I'm getting ready to put finish on. So there's these decking stain pads because I was using Osmo, and it's a very good way to get nice, even, I would say kind of thick coverage over the entire thing in a very short amount of time.
Right.
But there are these little fibers that are on them. And I was told, hey, make sure you kind of rub those out, vacuum it, use the air compressor and everything. And I go and I'm starting and I'm just looking at the coverage, making sure that it's even. And then I kind of look down and I see all these little fibers.
Oh no.
And so then I'm like, okay, let's get it all on. And then I'm just going to buff it and buff it and buff it and try to get all this stuff off. So the one thing that I was kind of told after is, you know what? He was like, I just had a thought, take a t-shirt and put it around it. And then you don't have to deal with those fibers. And so that was like, oh yeah, I mean, that's like super simple. And so that's my smooth move, because I spent probably a good 20 minutes and a ton of sweat buffing all that.
And it felt like longer than 20 minutes.
Oh my gosh,
sure.
Yes. Yeah.
You have anything? We were joking earlier before you got here. We were like, Frank's not going to have anything. Frank he's not making mistakes.
It's funny you say that though, because today I made a mistake at my demonstration. So I'm at the booth. And so I'm a stickler about a cutting gauge. Okay. So a cutting gauge is like the tool to start with your dovetails. Like,
Right.
and I'm a stickler about my cutting gauge. It's got to be sharpened perfectly. And I have made my own. It's got this locking wedge. So I have an extra one that I had made, and then I had my real one, but it was down in my toolbox. So I pulled the one out that was just, it was okay. And I scribe all my work, cut my dovetails today, and I'm demonstrating to one of the attendees, and I'm like, what's going on? Something's off here. Like, oh my goodness, this is overhanging. Like, wait. So I picked up the cutting gauge and it's not right. And I'm like, what's going on? And he's standing there watching this whole thing.
Yeah.
And I'm like checking, and like the measurement's different on this one. The baseline is different on this one. And then it's a little different. I'm like, oh my goodness. The cutting gauge, the one that I had made, the one that I'm picky about, slipped on me.
Oh, no.
And I have not had that problem in years. Like that was like, and so of course I'm just making a toolbox. So it's like it slipped by like a little bit, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it was a little bit more. It was like a light 16th maybe, but still enough to annoy me.
Yes.
Enough to annoy me.
Yeah.
It didn't affect the tightness of the dovetails. The dovetails are still tight.
Of
They
course.
just overhang, too much. The box will be a little out of square.
Right.
That actually, it's funny because that reminds me. I was teaching a class on making this very toolbox, right? It must be something about this toolbox. Something else happened with this style toolbox. Oh my goodness. Now I'm starting to get on a roll remembering about this toolbox. Oh my goodness. So I was actually teaching years ago. I don't know, it was probably 15 years ago. I was teaching how to make this very toolbox in a class.
Yeah.
And so one of the students was like, because they had seen mine and I had carved my name on it. So he's like, I'd love for you to carve my name on my toolbox. I was like, sure, I'll help you with that. So we, got the template and, measured out the toolbox. Okay, half a 32, perfect. Okay, 15 inches, mark the center line, put the thing on there, scribe it all out, carved it, stand back and look at it. Oh, it's off by an inch. Half of 32 is not 15 inches.
So, sometimes it's hard to math.
It's called a personal touch. It's called, it's really okay. That's not too bad. I had one time a class at Florida School of Woodworking. I was assisting Phil, and somebody had glued up a panel, and it was just off, and it's always like a student's work, and you feel 10 times worse when it's somebody's. Like I could do it on mine, but if it's a student, like I was clamping up this panel, and I was like, oh, it just needs like a little adjustment, like I'll loosen this up and like line these up, and the whole panel just collapsed, like, and it was like the last window of glue up. Like it was like you had to rejoin this and like put it back together. And Jeff, who listens to the podcast, thank you for your patience, because it was one of those moments where like why couldn't it have been mine? Like, why did it have to be somebody else's work on like the 11th hour, where it's like you don't have time to like fix this thing. But he was calm about it. We got it situated. But yeah, those are always the worst, where you're like, I'm not taking this home. You are. But I don't know.
Exactly.
We'll do another segment. We'll change it up a little bit because we're at the festival. So is there like a thing you've seen at the festival that you're really excited about? A tool, or just getting to meet somebody, or what do you think, Eric?
I love events like this because I get to meet my virtual friends.
Right.
And like, for instance, last
Isn't
night.
that so true?
Yeah, last night. So like, this is going way back to my hobbyist days. Michael Alm. I've been talking with him on Instagram since 2016. Is when we started like talking in messages, and I would ask him questions, and he was so gracious with his time and everything. And we finally got to meet last night, and it was just like those full circle moments.
Right.
And I've always used Instagram. Like I'm very forward. So I use it as like a networking tool, and then asking questions. Like if somebody's doing something, I'm never afraid to ask that question. And so developing relationships like that, kind of through that, and then yeah, just to be able to, meet your virtual friends.
Yeah.
Like that's what I really love about this, about the shows like this. I also get to volunteer. Was doing all the education stuff today, so I got to listen in on a lot of the classes, and just the people that we're able to get are just top notch. I mean, Frank, you've taught the educational sessions for years, and so to have people that, I wasn't able to go in the class, but like hear little snippets,
Right.
and then, be able to pick the brain a little bit afterwards. Like it's so invaluable. And yeah, that's what I really, really enjoy about these events.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, that's exactly. It's meeting those people, but also meeting new people. And speaking
Yeah.
of Michael Alm, I was doing a demo, and there was a few guys standing around, and I'm right next to the Lee Nielsen booth, and Curtis, who's a friend of mine, comes popping over. He's like, Frank, I think you should meet this guy right here. And it was
Yes.
Michael, and I didn't know of him, but he was like really intent. He was really, just watching. And so we met, and then I started looking at his work. I was like, wow, I wished I would have seen this guy's work beforehand, because I would have started asking him questions.
Yeah. Like the pattern plywood thing is so cool.
Yeah.
Like,
So I was
Yeah.
like, I want to go back and look over his stuff. He's using brass, which was also dates back to, the early, because I did some early brass and ebony inlay, because that's dates back to the early 1600s, or mid to late 1600s with Andre Boule. He was doing brass and ebony. So yeah. So I mean, I don't know, it's kind of the woodworking festival is kind of like a family reunion in a sense, maybe.
It feels that way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You always get to see people that, both students, a lot of students. I see a lot of students that come up, but also, colleagues and people. It's great to have a booth right next to Lee Nielsen, but it's also, we have Bad Axe Sawworks right down the way, and then Texas Heritage, and
Right.
it's just, we're kind of this hand tool niche right here. We have this aisle. It's nice, and
That was cool.
yeah, so it's wonderful. I haven't really honestly gotten a chance to go around. You know how the shows
Oh,
are. It's
yeah.
usually it's like 2 days, and it's like, this needs to be longer.
How did it happen? Yeah, like how did it
needs to
fly
be
by?
longer. We need more time. But
Yeah.
Like family reunion, I thought today was so cute. Silas was like at Lizzie's House of Timber.
oh, okay.
She was teaching him to scroll, and she came up to me and she's like, I just taught Frank's Charles' son how to use a scroll saw.
That's awesome. That's great.
I felt like a cute clip of it. It was really funny.
Oh, that's wonderful.
And she's like wonderful and like such a
Oh,
great
yeah.
teacher.
Yeah,
And like seeing that
exactly.
overlap in the community, because there's like a blend of like furniture makers who are from here, and then like the maker community, and it's all everybody's coming together, and like just it does feel like a family reunion. But that was super cute.
That's
I'll show you that later.
Yeah, I'd love to see that.
Yeah. No, it was
That's
great.
great.
We're coming up on time a lot faster. Speaking of time flying by, coming up on time a lot faster than I thought. So how about we wrap up? And you guys, Eric, you can give your social, or where people can find you and your work, and I'll be sure to plug that in the show notes so people can find you. So yeah.
Yeah. I'm basically just on Instagram, and it's yocom.furnitures.studio. And it's 2 O's and a C in Yocom.
Yes.
And yeah, I have a website, but I'm probably going to take it down before this airs, because it is an embarrassment at the moment.
Oh, mine's I feel like we're furniture makers, not website builders.
Exactly.
It's fine.
Yep.
Yeah. No, for sure. But yeah, I'll get some photos of your work up on the page, and
Thank you.
yeah. of
Thank you.
course.
And thank you for having, this is such an honor, and just,
No, it's an
very
honor to
cool
have
hanging out
you.
with you guys.
Like I've loved watching your journey, and I'm so glad we get to all do this. So
Oh, thank you.
yeah. And you, Frank, you
Yes,
Instagram.
yeah. You can find me on Instagram at Strazza Furniture. My website is also strazzafurniture.com.
Perfect.
And for those of y'all that do Facebook, I'm on Facebook. Let's see, it's Frank Strazza Furniture.
Okay.
So if you want to
Little
go that route, but
Perfect.
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's as Eric mentioned, it's an honor to be on the podcast. And
Yeah.
I wish we had more time. There's
Me
so much
too.
more we could talk about.
I know.
so-
We'll have to have you both back, and we'll
That'd
just
be
do it
great.
again.
I would love
So,
that.
yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But thank you both, and it's so happy to be doing this in person. We don't get to do podcasts in person very often, so this was very special on multiple levels.
Yeah.
But thank you guys.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I really hope you enjoyed this episode. I know I did get to enjoy revisiting friends, but I really think they have a lot of good things to say. And it's exciting seeing up-and-coming furniture makers and ones that have been doing it forever and how those intersect and inspire others. I know it's inspiring for me. If you'd like to submit questions for future episodes of Shop Talk Live, you can always email us at shoptalklive@finewoodworking.com. But our Discord channel is a really great chance to get to look into future episodes, a little sneak peek, and ask specific questions for specific woodworkers. We also have a new YouTube channel a newer YouTube channel for our podcast, which is Shop Talk Live as well. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. All future episodes will be going up on there. I also want to mention that Woodworking America is right around the corner, October 10th and 11th in Des Moines, Iowa, on the Iowa State Fairgrounds. We have a bunch of great speakers and demonstrators doing a lot of fun topics, and it's another great chance to meet other woodworkers. So I hope you join us there, and we will see you next time.